We have Acid Maw. We have a lot of creatures that minions that seem to be printed to counter Patron, but I haven't seen any of them do anything.
Yeah, Acid Maw may be a bit too expensive.
Just a tidbit, you know. All right, so it's gonna be Druid from Stancifka versus Kucha's Paladin. I didn't see any secrets. Did I miss out on anything? It might just be a straight up mid range.
There was at least Divine Favor in this deck.
Ah, okay, so I'm guessing secret. Never mind. It could be just a straight up aggro, but it's kind of unusual.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, it could be anything. This start from Stancifka, though, is a little slow to handle what Kucha's about to drop.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, no ramp at all, no innervates, no aspirants, no walled growths even.
Alright, so you stretch your facial skin and you actually have a good chance of thinking through all the moves. That's the new metagame.
Yeah, great metagame. Possibly surpassing the fruit metagame.
I think if you combine
the past
both,
few hours.
Stancifka's onto something. He actually does both. It's like a hybrid meta. Oh, he's going live coach now. Nice cosplay, Stan.
I think also it's the fact that generally in tournaments, both players can see each other through the cams. So Stancifka, he might be like faking out that he definitely has like a potential play to go for.
He's doing the math, and he's gonna pass. Kucha's like, I picked up Muster for battle, man. I don't have to think about my plays anymore. Yeah, it's looking pretty grim for Stancifka. He's gonna have to go for... I mean, if he doesn't pick up Innervate or Wild Growth here, this is looking very dangerous. And another dead draw. Do you have to coin out the Shade, or do you wait for the Coin Keeper to kill this Juggler and actually get something good on the board?
Yeah, the Coin Shade just... I don't think there's any way you can Coin Shade.
Yeah.
Not only do you not have a play next turn, but you just immediately die to the Muster for battle.
Alright, so Kucha is considering just abusive healed power, because he doesn't need... Like, you can get a 2-1 and a 1-1 instead of just getting 3 1-1s, and you're getting almost as much knife hits, and the damage from abusive also compensates. Yeah, a little weaker to swipe, I guess, but then you can play Muster, and then those won't get swiped, if there's a swipe. Which there isn't. Goodness gracious! Stancifka with the whiffs on every street, and no turn 4 as well.
Oh, wow. And even a Divine Favor pickup for Kucha. That just means he'll be able to unload his hand, and then, like, Stancifka, his entire hand is clunky, so there's no way he'll be able to get rid of all these cards.
I think if you find Innervate, you might just go for Force of Nature, clean up the board, then turn 5, Jewel of the Claw, and you should be able to curve in pretty well. I mean, maybe not even... Jewel of the Claw, you might even go for Harrison if there's a weapon setup. So, yeah, pick up Swipe, pick up Innervate, don't pick up Wild Growth.
Wild Growth is more like a slap to the face at this point.
Yeah, that as well doesn't help you much. I mean, it's a body on the board that eats up the True Server Charge, which I guess ultimately you're sort of happy about. Because you're forcing your opponent to play around whatever you're threatening. But I'm not even sure how much the Paladin even cares.
Yeah, Darnassus Aspirant, it does let you curve out a little better, and it's not as weak to Consecrate.
Yeah, you can kill the 2-1 as well with your hero power, so it lets you kill something and play the Aspirant while you're struggling to find anything to do. It's not over for Stan, but Kucha has to basically whiff every draw from here on out.
And I don't think that's even possible since he'll have Divine Favor.
Yeah.
So whiffing every... Like, even if Stancifka could, like, pick whatever Kucha draws in the next few turns, I still don't think Kucha's in a very bad position at all.
Wow. This is obscene.
What this draw does mean, though... Oh, he's actually going to go to Divine Favor.
Yeah, it's a good turn, because that way there's no chance of a crazy empty. And, like, emptying his hand, and then you're out of it. Okay, it's going to be an aggro Paladin with Gormok.
Okay.
You want
Didn't
Knights?
expect to see that.
Didn't expect it at all.
I think there's actually like a possibility where instead of Divine Favoring, you go for... Like, you can go for the Muster for battle since you've already seen, like, there's probably no swipe in Stancifka's hand, or he probably would have used it 1 or 2 turns ago.
Yeah, I think the reasoning is if I play Muster now, any swipes, I then have to Divine Favor to replenish my hand, but that takes up my entire turn 6, which means I don't have a follow-up play. So I think the reasoning is just, let's draw now and keep some mild pressure up and just refill everything while I can. And Stancifka still on the back foot with no good answer. And that's maybe the beginning of an answer, but it's looking too little too late. We'll see what he does.
It does look like you have to go for the most power that you can. And Dr. Boom does just that.
So 3, 4, 5. We got 5 damage on board. Kucha doesn't have lethal just yet. Playing minions is almost a liability in some cases. You could push, I guess, if you wanted. What if the Boombot dies and kills Leroy? That would be hilarious.
Yeah. I think maybe you just go for Gormok the Impaler here.
Yeah, I like Shielded Minibot or... Yeah, Shielded Minibot Gormok looks pretty sweet. Because it's probably the only time you'll have a way to enable it, unless you wait like turn 8 where you go Muster, Lepronome, Gormok, and that's 2 turns away from now, and you're looking to seal the game next turn if possible.
Of course, attacking first so the knife juggles don't backfire on you.
Alright, Gormok looks very likely. And the face gets hit. Wow, nice juggles. If it gets hit again, it's pretty crazy. Yep, pretty mediocre outcome for Stancifka. Alright, does Force of Nature solve your problems? Actually, yes, it kind of does. Assuming you're not dead next turn, it would clean up the board.
Yeah, it looks like it's the only way that he can possibly survive, but we know there's all sorts of ways he can die in the next turn.
Leroy! So, Judith the Claw, does that even improve your outs? Because you could have, like, killed the Boombot. You kill Gormok with Dr. Boom, you kill the Boombot into the Silver Hand, and maybe you kill the Juggler, then you play Judith the Claw.
Yeah, it's
Do you think
actually
that's
possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only way... Okay, so now he doesn't do anything, basically. He has to go for the Force of Nature, I feel.
Yeah.
Because, like, you could theoretically, the Boombot could either kill the Gormok or the Knife Juggler, and you would be happy with that. Then you'd be able to taunt up a Druid of the Claw against only the Shielded Minibot.
Exactly.
But now, it's just too much damage on board that you have to leave up.
Alright, Stan's going for the winning play, and he's hoping Kucha doesn't have the second True Silver or an Arcane Golem or any other such things that, you know, aggro probably tends to run. So Kucha's just going to take it 1-0 over the Druid. How do you feel this matchup plays out for the Paladin overall? Usually I don't think you're able to get that good of a Divine Favor.
Oh, definitely not. And not only that, but usually the Druid has some kind of wall growth, has some kind of ramping play.
Yeah.
At least in Blackrock Mountain, the matchup was 8-12 in favor of the Druid. So Druid won 60% of the time.
Kucha is going to be taking the first one, and we've got the Rogue and Hunter Lad. I hope the Rogue doesn't let him down, because that's been his weak spot, right?
Yeah. And whereas Stancifka's weak spot is that he just has too many BGHs in his decks, right?
He's got BGHs everywhere, and the only target you'll hit in Kucha's deck is an oiled up target. And that's going to be really hard to find. I mean, it's got to be like a Drake, Lotheb. It's really hard to find a spot for that.
Yeah. Well, that being said, I feel like the new changes in Druid actually help the Druid matchup. The aspirants seem to be pretty good against Druid. A lot of the things you might cut in Druid for the aspirants are something like the Ancients of War, which don't help you that much against Rogue because of cards like Sap.
Right, you actually are stuck in a position where you can lose tempo at any time. Alright.
Here we go.
There we go. Paladin versus the mid-range Paladin from Stancifka. I feel like Rogue is kind of okay with that. They have to keep the saps for crucial targets and not waste them away, but there's a good chance that they get blown out of the game sometimes when, you know, mini-bots stick and they don't have the backstabs. It can get really tricky.
Yeah. I think everyone will say that Rogue is favoring the matchup.
Right.
But I've noticed that at least in Blackrock Mountain, it was 10-9 in favor of Paladin, which really like belies like the core essence of the matchup. I feel like a lot of cards like the True Silver Champion really help in this matchup, but you also have to consider that cards like Lotheb and cards like Harrison Jones were more popular in Block Rock Mountain.
Yeah,
whereas
people
they're
protect a lot more against it.
Yeah, it's almost non-existent now because you have cards like the Tuskar Jouster, and cards like just basically the Tuskar Jouster and Murloc Knights are replacing those tech cards in Harrison Jones and Lothab.
I was gonna say it's gonna suck to trade a 3/3 away, but he just picked up a backstab. The question is, do you just deadly poison it down, keep the backstab for when you play the Drake? I'm guessing there's no reason to use the backstab ever.
Yeah, this is also way more mana efficient of a play.
Yeah. Unless you really value that second weapon charge, which is basically the only excuse I think you might have.
Yeah.
To make this play.
Stancifka has been drawing pretty well, I'd have to say.
Right.
The 3 best cards typically in this Paladin deck against Rogue are True Silver Champion #1, True Silver Champion #2, and the Lothab. Yep.
Cycle and lose the game. Monster for battle shows up and you're out of it. This is a really horrible turn for Kucha. Do you ever just consider going for the South Sea deckhand? No, because Muster. I mean, would it ever be good to just put down 2/1, or does it not matter?
I think he really values the 2/1 for the burst.
Yeah, with Tinkers, of course.
Yeah. Like if you play that card, that just means you want to use it to burst your opponent down.
Alright, well, Stan's got the opportunity to either hold on to the Lothab for a perfect turn where he seals the game, or to just play the Shredder. I mean, if he goes for Lothab now, he could also just... I don't want to say waste it, because it's not a complete waste.
Yeah.
But it might feel like one. But it curves you into turn 6 with the Murloc Knight pretty nicely.
Yeah, you have to think about what kind of turns your opponent could do on turn 5.
Right.
And one of the main ones is the Lothab from himself as well. So with this play, he's allowed to contest the opposing Lothab.
What I love about this attack from the True Silver Champion is that Stancifka is representing a second True Silver by doing this, or a Muster. I don't know if that's... I mean, I have to assume it's intentional, but he's representing that exact combination of cards, one or the other.
So that was kind of a strange play by Kucha. He went for the heal bot instead of Azure Drake, but I feel like that's because he really needs to somehow get back into this game, and in order to do that, he feels like he needs to combo the Azure Drake with the backstab. And also, like you said, Stancifka was representing a second True Silver, so this minion would have died anyway.
Well, this Fan of Knives with Drake needs a prep to do anything. Oh my god, here he goes.
Well, this is the beginning of that comeback.
Yep, looks pretty good for Kucha. He's still afraid of the True Silver that Stancifka was representing, but he's definitely going to take this opportunity. There's no way you don't. This is way too good. Prep, backstab, oops. Mistakes were made.
Yeah. So really key that Kucha decided to keep the Fan of Knives because he realizes it was valuable.
Yeah, of course.
Even back on turn 3.
We were facetious about cycling because Muster in this matchup is too big of a deal. Like, you can't, unless you have 2 Blade Flurries on the back end, it's really impossible to justify flurrying for cycle, unless you're in the weird case where there's absolutely nothing for you to do.
Yeah. And we also have to note that because there's so many tech cards in Kucha's Rogue deck, like we saw Harrison Jones in it, which is going to be really good against Paladin, first of all. We also saw Emperor Thorzane in this deck. So that probably means that it's possible that Kucha's only running 1 Fan of Knives.
Makes sense. Not every deck already baseline runs 2. So there's a great possibility of that. Oh, man. Here we go. You have an opportunity to sprint, just take it. Lothab's going to help you seal the game for sure. Emperor Thorzane in this hand is actually making me a little sick to the stomach.
It's just so key here.
Wow,
Like,
South Sea deck hand, the Tinkers, everything is there.
Yeah, I generally don't think the Emperor is that great to get in Rogue, but when you have this kind of hand, it's just like so amazing. It's essentially like giving a patron hand a discount because this is kind of exactly what it is. You give yourself so much potential for burst damage when you reduce all these cards by 1.
Yeah. Stancifka finds the Tyrion, but the problem with Tyrion is, of course, that if you play it here, you're pretty much getting sapped, and you won't like it. So he's going to go for the Tempo Quartermaster, trade away one of the 3/3s, and force the Rogue to deal with a, I guess, mid-sized board at best. By the power of...
Yeah, I completely agree.
By the power of... That's probably the play. Oh, he's gonna go for the Eviscerate afterwards to keep the Emperor, possibly. Alright.
Yep, plays around, second Quartermaster. Also just, like you said, keeps the Emperor alive, unless there's a True Silver in Stancifka's hand.
Yeah, actually, there's no way for Stan to kill this Emperor, and that's gonna give Kucha a crazy swing turn.
Yeah, we do have to keep in mind that if Stancifka goes for the Tyrion play, there's no sap in Kucha's hand.
Yeah, but from his perspective, it feels desperate to ever make that play, especially with a 5/5 that can be oiled.
Yeah,
you gotta feel a little scared, but might be the best play.
Do you really have any alternatives, though, is the question.
I guess Shredder, Muster. You could also just lay on hands if you really need the card draw. It just feels like you're wasting a lot of resources on it.
All of the plays don't seem to be very good at all.
Yeah, I don't like any of Stancifka's plays, but here at least he's forcing his opponent to use a Blade Flurry with possibly a marginally big weapon instead of a massive one, because he doesn't even have a weapon up just yet. So let's see what Kucha does. I have no doubt that I kind of already know what it's going to be.
Oh.
Never mind. It's even better than that.
That might change a few things.
Alright, so if you dagger up, you're down to 7. You can go for South Sea for free. You Tinkers, you're down to 4. And then you can go Blood Mage, Flurry. You have 1 mana left over, but that's fine.
Yeah. You can even clear the Shredder as well. Exactly.
Yeah.
The Blade Flurry, it does exactly 5 damage with the Blood Mage.
Haha!
Haha.
And he's getting another round of discount, right? We have to keep that in mind.
Yeah. Really nice for the oil to land there, so that BGH is no longer a threat on the Emperor Thorzin.
What could come out of the Shredder that's actually a problem?
Nothing. Oh, unstable Ghoul.
Oh no, that would be so devastating. Alright, he's gonna hit for 5. Feels like I'm playing against Patron. Stancifka's looking at this and he's like, yep, I'm gonna have to consecrate, but this Emperor just stays alive.
Oh, man.
There's nothing I can do about it. Or does he just go for Tyrion Divine Shield? I can't even fault him for that, honestly.
Oh,
it just sounds like the only play that's gonna win, and if Sap is there, then so be it.
Yeah,
Kucha's got Sprint.
Even a Harrison Jones here. Oh, and a Sap. Well,
that is not lethal.
Wow.
I never thought I'd say this. I mean, it's going to be lethal after Sprint, probably. There's SI, there's Eviscerate. There's another Oil, I think. So
this is like guaranteed lethal, basically.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. He's got everything he needs. Prep, Sap, Dagger, Oil. No, you can't Dagger Oil. You have to SI.
You don't even have
to
to dagger.
Oiled.
You could just oil.
Yeah, just oil for the buff. Alright, Kucha is taking the lead. His rogue deck did not fail him. Stancifka's looking a little poor off here. I mean, with this last... he's got to win against Kucha's last deck, which is a Hunter.
Yeah, I think... Like, the Hunter might even be Kucha's weak link if I had to go that far. It just seems like it's a slower deck. And it might very well be that Stancifka could just take 3 games off of that deck, especially because of the various tech cards that he has in his deck, like the BGHs, which are going to be fairly useless. The Patron also has a Harrison Jones, and even though it's going to be not that great, even though it's going to like kill off a weapon, it's not actually that great against Hunter.
So even though Kucha's Hunter might not be his best deck, Stancifka's lineup just doesn't play well against it, I guess.
Yeah. By the way, I think Stancifka is actually chewing something now. Oh, he's eating some kind of fruit.
No, it's a brownie.
Oh, it's a brownie?
Yeah.
Okay.
It might be a plum. Look. He looks like he's got plum juice. Yeah. Definitely not a brownie. There's no crumbs.
Okay.
I bet on plum.
Yeah. So I think you won our little bet. If you weren't paying attention before, we'd made a bet on how many fruits Stancifka would eat throughout the course of his matches. Nox just bet on 5 and I bet on 4.
Yeah, I might get blown out though. I mean, he might go to 6 and I just end up being sure I'm closer, but I still don't win, right?
That's true.
Yeah. Well, let's hope he's not too hungry. I mean, this is about to end, so I probably will go. Oh, that
looked like a different.
That's something else. I think he's up to 6 now. Okay. He's kind of like eating 4 different fruit at once.
Yeah, it might just be that he has like a fruit plate and he's eating from that.
Yeah. Do you think he does it himself or somebody else does?
He looks like a pretty self-sufficient guy, Noxious.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh god, this fruit meta game is killing me. So Kucha's got the web spinner to start off the game. And Stancifka, he's got cycle.
Yeah. Interesting that Stancifka has been using a different deck in every single match. Basically, normally when players lose a game, they try to like keep queuing up that same class. So oftentimes they lose a series 0-3 with the same class over and over again. But in Stancifka's case, it's possible for him to lose a match with 3 separate decks. So it's almost like he's playing Last Hero Standing.
All right, the Stranglethorn Tiger was. I think this just indicates Kucha brought back the Beast deck that he was playing last time.
Yeah. Did we see a Ram Wrangler before in this deck, or is
I don't think we even got to see it because he played the other 2 decks. He played Paladin and no, he played Hunter once. We didn't see Ram Wrangler, and he ended up playing just 1 game, I think, with Hunter.
Yeah. Was Kucha the player who played Ram Wrangler before?
Yeah, that was him. That was definitely him, and he just took everybody by surprise. If his Ram Wranglers are as good as they were last time, he's gonna win this 100%. Like, he just got King Crush in Maexna against the Druid. It was like, oh, well, that's pretty rough.
Yeah. It does seem to me that you either have Ram Wrangler or Stranglethorn Tiger in your decks.
And not both?
Yeah, not both.
Because I find they both kind of work, they work together, of course, the Ram Wrangler and the Stranglethorn, because one guarantees the other.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Alright, I was going to be... Is Stancifka willing to try to trigger a Snake Trap and then Whirlwind everything off, but he wants to maximize his card draw. He's going to get punished by it, at least partially, with the Houndmaster coming down, but Stancifka can still wipe the board if he wants to.
These minions are kind of threatening for Stancifka, though.
Yeah, that's the problem, is you have to wipe them out, and it never feels good, whatever way you do it.
So which weapon do you use here?
I like the Death Bite just because I picked up Patron, but
Okay.
you might have to reuse it next turn, because maybe I want to slam the 3-2 and use the War Axe on the 4-3. I don't know.
The Death Spite also gives you the opportunity to have a Whirlwind effect on the next turn. So if this is Snake Trap, then you can kind of clear it off in the next turn.
Alright, good point. So if you play around Snake, this is definitely better. Because otherwise, if you slammed the Spider first anyway, you would then use up all your mana on War Axe to kill the 4-3, and if there were snakes, they would still stay up. Yeah, I like that spy in that case. Like, the extra Whirlwind really makes it work against any secret.
Yeah. I think Stancifka is just going through all the options here.
Alright, so he's betting on Snake, which it is not. So I would still... Wait, do you consider slamming this? Nah, there's really no reason to, because you've got the War Axe. Oh, man. Is there even one more secret in this deck? I'm guessing there's a Bear Trap or a Snake Trap. For sure.
Yeah, there's been so many Hunter decks today that it's really hard to like keep all the traps in line.
Yeah. And what's also interesting about Hunter Traps now is that you don't have like one standard list. Everybody's running their own brew of traps.
Yeah, I think that will get kind of trimmed down later on as we're further down in the expansion. But right now, people are just confused about what to run, and it's actually like helping each other's Hunter decks because there's no standard list, so
everybody's winning because nobody knows what everyone is playing. That makes so much sense. It's kind of cool, actually. Nice interaction.
So one of the biggest reasons that Patron Warrior is pretty good against Hunter is they've been adding shield blocks recently to their list, but this is not the scenario for Stancifka because he doesn't have any shield blocks at all. Instead, he's running like Harrison Jones and BGH in those slots.
Yeah, so it turns out there's only 2 freezings in Kucha's deck, nothing else. Only 2 freezings. Look at the power of the Stranglethorn.
Really show him who's boss.
So, do you go Armor Smith, Whirlwind, Battle Rage? Or do you just go Patron, Whirlwind, and then attack phase with... the War Song, I guess. I mean, you kind of need the War Song to stay on the board, at least force the opponent to kill it, which means you have to let him spend mana on it, which means you probably don't want it to return to your hand. Yeah, Armor Smith doesn't look as good now as it could be later, so maybe Death Bite alone is good enough. I'm not even sure.
I do feel like you might want to set off this freezing trap, though.
Yeah.
With something, at least.
What about Armor Smith Gnomish? You send back the Gnomish, you keep the Armor Smith, and then set up next turn Patron Whirlwind. Oh god, every play that I see here kind of makes me hurt. I don't like any of the plays that we could make. I mean, you could set it off with just a Patron and basically get a second Patron, but it's going to cost so much. It's almost not worth it, ever.
Oh, this is really interesting.
Alright, he's setting it up. We need armor next turn. He needs to win next turn, basically, with Patrons, is what he's thinking.
Yeah. Although, I think I would have liked if he attacked first and then tested for the bear trap. Right? Or is Stancifka so sure that there's no bear trap here?
Well, I think because the mad scientist didn't get a second trap, you assume it's got to be freezing, or that Kucha's holding on to like 2 traps, which doesn't seem very likely since he's been playing on curve and he hasn't really missed a drop.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're bringing up a good point, and it makes the whole thing a little clunkier from Stancifka's perspective. Bear Trap is actually the card when I saw it that I was like, this is going to make everybody rage, because it's not a card that like Vaporize, where you're just like, oh, whatever, you know, if it's Vaporize, I'm not gonna lose the game necessarily, and it's not that big of a deal. Bear Trap is literally you playing into all their secrets, and then you get punished even harder for not playing into that additional one, but there's no way to actually play around just that. Oh well. Everyone will not get in here. Never mind, everyone will get in here. They just won't get to attack.
Yeah, they won't get to attack, but
it will do a lot of work here, though. If Kucha doesn't have Unleash, you're pretty fine as stand.
At the same time, though, there's so much damage on board.
I think he's actually just one-off lethal. If Stan goes for Battle Rage, Kucha's one-off lethal. And Abusive would do it, but I don't think he runs them. His deck looks a bit more on the higher curve. Maybe he doesn't have those.
Yeah, I have to like guess that there's definitely no Abusive here, because there's also just like there's Web Spinners, there's Hound Masters, and you don't really feel like you can fit Abusives in this deck.
No, I agree with you. I think it would be a bit too clunky to find room for them. And now Stancifka's debating going for the Battle Rage over the Armor Up. In this case, I think Battle Raging might be fine, because you'd be 3 off lethal instead of 1 off, and I don't think that would matter since the Armor Smith is your ticket to Armor Up.
Yeah,
and
I think in a typical Patron deck, you would definitely want a Battle Rage here, because you have more chances to get your shield blocks. But with this particular deck, because he doesn't have shield blocks in his deck, you basically need to rely on the Armor Up to get health every single turn.
Oh man, Kucha might actually lose this, it feels, because once Stancifka gets a round of armor, it gets a little tricky for Kucha to power through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So does that mean he has to go for Dr. Boom here and
go all in and get Owl double kill command next turn and hope everything works out? I kind of think that might be the only way you really just win, because you can't deal with all of those effectively. Like, you could double kill command and Hunter's Mark, the last one, but then, you know, what happens if he plays 2 minions? Then how do you actually win the game? You've got nothing left. Oh god. Oh, this is hurting me inside.
But okay, so the benefit of this play is that typically Patron is not actually a strong deck when it doesn't have minions on the field, and when it doesn't have a lot of big cards or a lot of cards in the hand. Like, a lot of their cards, they rely on having already a lot of cards in your hand, like Battle Rage, for instance. Otherwise, they only draw 1 damage per turn. But we do see a Battle Rage in Stancifka's hand that's going to be really key. We do see 2 hurt creatures, or at least a hero and a minion on the board. So it's actually not going to be as bad for Stancifka.
Look at this. I mean, okay, just look at the fact that 8 damage is left on board for the Patron by Kucha. So he's basically giving his opponent lethal over 2 turns. Maybe he didn't feel like he had another option. That's really distressing if you're in Kucha's shoes here.
Yeah.
And now he goes for the boom. Okay. Oh, alright. I guess he feels like making sure the patrons don't duplicate off of the boom bots was the way he played last turn.
Yeah. This is kind of... I want to say game over here, though. He basically had to hope that Stancifka didn't have the Battle Rage. It was like the one card Stancifka needed not to have. And Kucha maybe have made that play in the previous turn because he saw that Stancifka armored up instead of playing a 2-mana card.
Yeah.
Whereas like Battle Rage seems to be really good in that case.
Alright, picks up 2 more cards. He's looking for a lethal. A weapon would probably do it, I think. He's just shy of lethal by, I think, 3, if I'm not mistaken. But he can still wipe the board. Like, he's not in a bad position. He's got the Armor Smith. He can go for Whirlwind. He can execute Boom if he wants to. He's got just about everything he wants. Doesn't even have to do that if he doesn't feel like it. The options are in Stancifka's court here.
Yeah, I would definitely think something like... at least the execute will come down.
I imagine so, yeah.
Oh, he's kind of roping a bit, though. He's, like, hovering over Inner Rage to maybe use that to clear off the... Okay.
Well, did he get the damage in? Because that's the question, right? He did get the damage in. He missed 5, though, from the patron on the far left. Does that give Kucha the opportunity to come back? The Ironbeak Owl lets him go through a little bit. Kill Command could deal 5, but that's not nearly enough. So you'd have to have a crazy Huffer, and that would also not be enough.
There's actually a way for Kucha to just win the game if he Ironbeak's Owl the Acolyte of Pain, and then run the Boombots in so they hit. Yeah, so they hit the Emperor Thorzane for 4 and the Armor Smith for 4. Then Stancifka would pretty much be left with no cards remaining.
That's a waste of a hit, and the... that'll clear 1 additional minion, but it will give maximum armor next turn if he wants to... Oh, never mind, it's just going to be lethal. I was like, it's going to give maximum armor to stand, being able to get the Armor Smith to live even when the ghoul pops. Alright, well, Stancifka is going to take this one, and there will not be a complete sweep coming from Kucha.
Yeah, it's good to hear. I mean, it's always bad when one player falls out 0-3 out of a tournament, so at least we have a series onto ourselves. Yeah, look at these notes from Stancifka. I've noticed that like every tournament I've been to, where he is at as well, he always has like all these notes that he's meticulously kept up. And I know that he takes this very seriously as a job. It's pretty much like what he does full time. Like keeping stats and just noting down all his plays, practicing. He pretty much does this for 8 hours a day, at least.
It's a pretty serious, probably like the star player of his team as well. Alright, so we've got the Wild Growth opener for the Druid. That seems like a pretty good card. Oh man. So the Druid has the Wild Growth. Kucha is playing King's Alex. Some people think this card is a lot worse than it actually is. I wasn't sold on it initially, but the more I've played with it, the more I've realized, sure, it's a Bloodfen Raptor in some cases, but it's also a game winner on its own.
Yeah,
look at that. Others.
Look at that power creep, though.
Yeah, look at that Bloodfen Raptor. It's not power creep if it's class specific, right? Yeah. Rule of thumb.
And in some scenarios, it can actually hurt you. Like it loses the
Fatigue War?
the joust, basically. Yeah, it loses the joust and your opponent gets to know what's in your deck, or it wins the joust and your opponent divine favors you. Oh.
And this one does absolutely nothing. Stancifka still can't kill the 3-2 though, because he doesn't have another Innervate for the Keeper, but he's going to be pretty okay with just Wild Growthing and curving perfectly from here on out.
This is just night and day compared to what Stancifka drew like in the first game when he was playing Druid.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not remotely close. The first game was a complete blowout because he didn't find a single bit of ramp against Kucha's early start. And, I mean, with 2 weapons, you gotta use those charges at some point. So does he just bank on his opponent never using the Shade to unstealth here and just getting his bow out before that happens?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the shade is more valuable to you than an extra charge on the bow, I feel.
Yeah.
And now he'll be able to bounce his Keeper of the Grove back. That's pretty much like the card that you want the most to be bounced back, because the Silence effect is actually very valuable. And sometimes you would even pay 6 mana for it.
Yeah, and funny enough, he's going to be able to coin out Emperor if he wants, and I think that's a pretty okay outcome considering he just got 1 card to cost more. His Pilot Trader is going to cure for 3, and the turn 7 is basically going to be flawless. I think everything that Stancifka is about to do is going to put Kucha on the back foot.
Oh, Ram Wrangler, there it is.
Yeah,
interesting.
It was in the deck, but there's a chance that the Shredder never drops a beast. But it oh, it did! What?
Oh! You go for that, though.
What's your... Okay, I guess your alternative would be a kill command on the Shade. But then, what do you do about the Emperor? Okay, maybe you just Eaglehorn Bro down the Emperor. But what if you lose the beast? You don't have another one for like 2 years.
You play Ram Wrangler, you get a Stone Tusk Boar.
And you kill the 5/1. Yeah,
then you're happy about it.
Yeah, you can get Tundra Rhino or King Crush as well. My X now would be sweet. I'll take anything, whatever, man.
That's alright.
That's pretty scary if you're Stancifka. But you have to wipe the board in some way if you're Stan. Oh man, second round of Emperor. Will he take it?
Your hand is pretty good already.
Yeah, you might not even need the second round. I feel like trading into the Savage Combatant somehow is going to be instrumental. You could pick up Swipe. If you pick up Swipe with this this Drake, you're kind of okay.
It seems to be the age-old argument of tempo versus card quality. And I think your cards are already good enough here, especially with the BGH against a potential Dr. Boom, which is one way the Hunter could come back. So you might as well just go for the play that gives you the most tempo.
The face.
This is a bit more greedy though.
It's a bit more greedy, but nothing's going to really punish you unless Unleash is picked up by Kucha pretty much on curve.
Second Ram Wrangler.
Yeah, the second one could do the trick. If the first one didn't, throw it again. Core Rager. Not exactly anything he wants, but it, you know, challenges the Drake. It challenges the Shredder. Or it gets challenged by, I don't know, it depends on your perspective on it.
Yeah, it's not too bad, actually.
Yeah, so we're looking at a lot of damage. I think Stancifka is just going to push.
No, that's it.
Oh yeah, that's right. There was a discount on the Savage War. I completely missed out on that. Never mind. I was like, oh, he's just going to push for 6 and then get Savage War next turn. Never mind that. Equalization of score by Stancifka, who could just reverse sweep Kucha.
Yeah, and oh, there's a banana, by the way.
Oh, we're going up to 7.
Even an extra fruit. But I just want to say that it just seems like it wasn't the Hunter losing that game. It was the Druid just like winning the game.
Yeah.
Whereas in the first match between the Druid and the Paladin, I also felt like it wasn't the Paladin that won the game. It was the Druid that lost the game. Which
yeah, I would agree with you. The polarization of matchups for Druids sometimes just depends on their own hand, and that's something that a lot of people have brought up over the year and a half that Hearthstone's been played is Druid wins its own games and loses its own games.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a less like that because Darnassus has kind of evened out the Druid matchups a bit, but still you're gonna have those awkward situations where you don't draw into any of your basically any of your ramp.
Alright, Stan's got the cure that he's looking for here just against anything, really. It's not even just against Hunters, it's against anything, but especially against Hunters, because you need to counter the early game and you need to have the mini-bot to deal with Scientists super effectively.
Seems to be a really good start for Stancifka, though. I don't believe he's running Zombie Chow at all in his deck, so a much more greedy deck. So these are pretty much the absolute cards that you want in your opening hand, especially Shielded Mini-bot and Muster for Battle. They just let you control the board like absolutely in the early game. Even if your opponent has like a counter Unleash the Hounds, you're not too sad about that because that's one Unleash gone. And it's not really like he's using the Unleash on turn 3 to take the game, but rather he's just like coming back and then you have the initiative on turn 4.
Alright, Kucha picks up his 1-drop. I think that was actually very important for him to be able to develop because you might find a 2-drop off the Web Spinner if you end up having to trade it out. And it also makes Stancifka unwilling, perhaps, to play into abusive, if he thinks you have it, of course. I think Stancifka knows that Kucha is not running it.
Yeah. Also, like, the 2-drop is really disheartening to miss because you have so many 2-drops in your deck.
Yeah. King's Elec even in this deck.
So. King's Elec. He might have cut the Knife Jugglers. I'm not sure if we saw those in this particular Hunter's deck. But you have King's Elec, you have Mad Scientist, you have Haunted Creeper, which is what you really need to like contest the board early on against Shield and Minibot. A lot of this matchup is about how well you can contest the early game, because then it all snowballs from there.
Yeah, I've also noticed that Knife Jugglers do get cut in Hunter when you're playing the Beast archetype. So it wouldn't surprise me at all that he actually ended up removing them.
Yeah, it does feel though that hurts certain matchups, especially like aggro matchups where you aren't able to go for the Knife Juggler Unleashed plays. And a lot of like those matchups, especially like Face Hunter versus Mid-Range Hunter, for instance, the one way you can come back into the game is with Knife Juggler Unleashed.
Yeah, against Paladin, it's pretty punishing as well when you don't get it. In fact, you know, now that you mention it, I remember him playing, like, the deck that he's playing used to run a Flare, but I don't know if it still does, if he still expected Secret Pally to be as prevalent as it was.
Yeah. With that, I think a lot of it is about what you expect your opponents to bring. And maybe he doesn't expect Stancifka or Dog to bring Secret Paladin.
The best animal companion Kucha could have gotten here. Absolutely the best.
Yeah, now Stancifka is like, maybe I should have just played Shield and Minibot on the last turn.
Equality!
Oh, value equality here.
I mean, is it that bad?
It actually just kind of acts like a Dark Bomb.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I really don't mind it, though, because... I mean, then again, when you're running into mid-range with high mains and Wranglers, I just feel like you have the curve to actually contest all that late-game stuff.
Yeah.
And Consecration could clean up the smaller stuff, so Equality could effectively just be your Dark Bomb in this case. And the value... be okay with it.
The value of the Equality is almost more that everyone knows that Paladins only play one Equality in their decks. So if Kucha sees this one Equality, then he might be like, okay, I don't have to play around Equality for the entirety of the rest of the game.
Alright, so you think trading everything and mini-botting is probably like the safer play? Or just doing nothing and letting him find Unleash? Which there isn't. Yeah, if you had Unleash, you would have probably played it instead of Animal Companion, right? Would you? And probably.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a little more risky. Ooh, even an Ooze. So, it seems like Stancifka is teching against Patron and Handlock. Pretty interesting. I think this might be an Equality turn, though.
I mean, if you expect Secret Paladin, if you expect mid-range Hunters, if you expect Patron, if you expect Handlock, his deck is actually pretty well teched.
Yeah, definitely. Doomsayer.
Wow. Now, I value the shield a lot, but you know there's no juggler, so maybe it's not worth as much. And you also could find Quartermaster to make this 1/1 a bit bigger, so that's a pretty tough call.
Yeah. The fact that you're thinking about it this much might signal to your opponent that you don't have the Quartermaster.
Or that you do.
Yeah.
Aha! I guess it depends which way you're looking at it.
You got me, Noxious.
Yeah, I got you. I knew it. So, alright. Oh man. Somebody's representing that Quartermaster pretty hard. Oh, never mind. He just plays the use. No more Quartermaster representations. It's gone. The dream is dead. So one thing I love about Ram Wrangler is because you play the web spinners, you're getting yourself a lot of 6-drops. Between the high mains and this guy, you can pretty much always enable the the turn 6 to do something. Whereas very often, if you don't have high main, your turn 6 consists of subpar curve, unless you've got Shredder that you top decked and the hero power. It's a little tough sometimes.
So it's a little funny here that Kucha, his Eagle Horn Bow will actually punish the
ooze
instead of the other way around.
Yeah, I mean, he can play the Raptor to trade into the 2/1, which I guess is okay.
Yeah, the next turn you have Web Spinner into Ram Wrangler.
Yeah, I mean, you're bored. You don't even need to play minions at all. It's just straight up. Like, yeah, I mean, spells at all, you just have to play for tempo, and I think you're gonna get ahead on board. Very often here, you expect your turn 6 to be much stronger than your opponents. What's also really scary... Wait, do you play... No, never mind. I think you play a Murloc Knight, but I'm like, this is so off curve for turn 6. Yeah. Never mind that.
I think Lotheb is definitely the play here.
Yeah, with the possibility of a high main, I'm dropping Lotheb to trade and then consecrate. That seems like the more consistent play. But Kucha could go Web Spinner, Ram Wrangler, high main. It has happened before.
I like it. I like it.
You like it?
Has it happened to you before, Noxious?
Yeah, it's happened to my opponents, just doing it to me. It happens a lot on ladder. Like, with the volume that you put in on ladder, that kind of stuff just happens all the time. Yeah, even in my X now would be a really big deal.
Yeah, and...
Emperor Cobra even. Oh my god.
We know that Kucha, he doesn't have the... He doesn't have, or we know that Stancifka doesn't have the equality anymore, so my X now would actually be really amazing.
Alright, so Web Spinner, Ram Wrangler, or Stranglethorn, and you play it slowly. I mean, it lets you go for kill command next turn with Animal Companion, but that Ram Wrangler is delayed substantially. And I feel it's usually more valuable to get it out now, because the 3-3 could trade with the Lotheb's initial... Whoa! No, holy crap! I had a near heart attack.
Yeah, I think also because Kucha is behind in this game, he's more likely to take the more RNG play. Oh, that's...
oh, get wrecked! All right, so oh, this is good. So Stancifka basically thank you for the free turn, I guess. I was looking for things to do, and now I have them all. Justice demands Murlocs.
Yeah, let's get some Murlocs in there.
I like Murlocs. Gozrilla. Da 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 da.
He seems to be getting that over and over again.
Yeah, never mind. It's not seeing play this turn. So actually, this is pretty much perfect. I'm not. Wait. This Unleash. How good is it?
I'm not sure if it's that good here.
Yeah, I don't like it that much. Never mind. I was gonna say you can clean the board up, but then the initiative goes back to the pally. And what's your play?
That being said, though, it felt like Stancifka was playing around the Unleash specifically.
Yeah. So I think we're just going phase for the rest of the game for Kucha here. He's got enough burst with the weapon and the 5/5 and the kill command to just seal the game if his opponent doesn't do anything fancy. Gets punished by the Belcher, the double Belcher, mind you, but still, I think it's the correct play.
13 HP.
Yeah, always, whenever you hit the 15 health mark, and you don't have that big of a lead over your opponent, you're feeling a little iffy against Hunter.
Yeah. You also realize that there's not really too much heal in this Paladin deck. Like, from what we've seen at least, there's no Tusker Jouster, there's no anti-kill bot. In fact, we've only seen one lay on hands in terms of healing in this deck. And of course, the 2 True Silver Champions.
Is he setting up for next turn lethal, or is he attacking with Sylvanas into the Ram Wrangler? That's the last decision he's got to make, and I think trading protects your Belcher so well.
Yeah, you also have to make the read that your opponent probably made that play for a specific reason.
So Unleash Kill Command Hero Power lets you go through but not win, and you might just die next turn, so it's a little scary.
Yeah, so 12 damage on board here if we assume that the juggler, or if we assume that the Sludge Belcher is cleared.
Yeah.
So that means True Silver would be lethal.
Would be lethal, exactly. So you're a little worried here if you're Kucha, because you haven't even seen that weapon yet. I mean, double Consec would be lethal as well, right? So it's like another out, but that one is a lot less likely, so you're not as worried about it. You might kill a 1/1 if you're Kucha here.
Yeah, you might actually kill both 1/1s if you're afraid of Quartermaster.
Good point. Great point, actually, yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot. Or you could just smork it. You know, that works out.
Yeah, okay, so he kills one of the recruits. That means Quartermaster is no longer lethal.
Yeah, he's just one damage shy. Oh my god, Stancifka with the plays.
2 taunts seems pretty good. And you've already seen one kill command. That's not going to be one of your concerns.
Hey, is one off lethal? Wait, no. I was gonna say, can you kill your own Sylve? No, it's not possible. Like, you could steal a Hound and win the game, but it's not happening. Yeah, I mean, Coghammer Belcher is pretty safe, but you could still die. Like, I think Kucha could still win the game, obviously. Just because of the... Would Murkai do it? No, wouldn't. Close enough, but not quite.
Interesting.
Yeah, protect. If you play Belcher, Owl is no longer a big threat of, like, a big worry of yours. But you could also just make the trade because you're gonna win on the following turn no matter what.
I would have thought maybe to possibly not give taunt, possibly give taunt to the Sylvanas because you. I would
take two things, I guess. Okay.
Yeah. But okay, so with this play, Stancifka is setting up for lethal even more, so he has to go for face here.
All right, if Kucha doesn't pick up lethal here, that's the end of it for him.
Quick shot. Kill command.
Nope.
Oh.
Nope. Is it over though? Is it over? Is there anything at all that he can do? Shredder can't be popped. He can't go through any of those. He has only 2 damage and he's dead next turn. So I think Stancifka's taking this 100%. Yeah, it doesn't look... wait. Could you... No, I was gonna say, can you make Sylvanas take the Shredder, pop the Shredder, and spawn something to help you out? But I don't think that's...
it's a little complicated there.
Yeah, it's a little convoluted, and it's not even possible in the first place. Yeah, would have also been hard for lethal if he actually hadn't played Belcher here.
Not really sure what that does, but...
Kucha's going to show his hands, and he's going to hope the Stancifka is tunnel visioning. We saw somebody yesterday miss lethal because of a tunnel vision, and it's actually interesting. I wonder if it'll ever happen in a larger event. Alright, so Stancifka is going to move on. You know, tooth and nail for that win. He had to fight, but he did it, and Kucha's out. That is it. He is relegated to the last chance qualifier. And Stancifka has the opportunity as well to kill off another Hellraisers player in the next match.
I guess the on the bright side, at least there won't be a team kill in the deciding match, right?
Right. I mean, ultimately, there's a chance that Kucha wouldn't have made it through because Lostov could have taken the win. But I guess it always feels better when you're not bitter about your losing because of your teammate actually knocking you out. So there's that. You can still make it. Last chance qualifier is going to be taking place a little bit later. Until then, we've got another match coming up next. Stancifka versus Lostov for the last match of the day, which is going to determine who goes straight to the LAN finals and who goes to the last chance qualifier for, that last extra squeezing of performance to maybe make it through to the top 6. So, we'll be back after the break. 10 minutes. Don't go anywhere.
From east to west, heroes are sent, seeking glory in the greatest of events. There are knights on noble steeds, those who will bring them to their knees. There are monsters to test their mettle at every turn. Legends will rise based on their merits. There's even pirates riding parrots. It's the grand